Hello guys, welcome to our lesson 4 in Business Process Outsourcing. In our past lessons, we discussed about business process management. Okay, so if you I will provide in the comments or in the description yung um, link for the process management. So right now, we will discuss BCM or Business Continuity Management. From the title itself, from the word itself, it's about continuity. Paano makakapagtuloy-tuloy ang business despite of the potential risks that may occur. Okay, so let's discuss more of this later. At the end of this lesson, I would expect that everyone would understand business continuity management and its importance. Okay, so we're going to discuss about this later. Um, you should be able to discuss the BCM framework, explain what risk assessment is, and explain the difference of business continuity and disaster recovery. Okay, so let's start first with um, defining what is business continuity management. So this is the advanced planning and preparation of an organization to maintaining business functions or quickly resuming after a disaster has occurred. Okay. Um, Again, this is an advanced planning, and you really have to plan as the management, okay, of a kahit BPO yan or kahit ordinaryong business yan. So, you have to plan whenever a disaster has occurred. Hindi siya pwedeng mag-stop lang yung business mo uh, because of this particular disaster. Okay. So, yun. It also involves defining potential risks. Ayan. Alamin nyo ano yung pwedeng makapagpahinto sa serbisyo or sa processes ng business nyo, including, for example, may sunog, flood, kung IT company yan, cyber attacks, or anything. Okay. Yung mga business leaders, they have to plan, they have to identify and address potential crisis before they happen. Okay, hindi yan pagka nangyari na, tsaka lang siya iisipan ng solusyon. No. Kailangan meron siyang BCM, merong Business Continuity Management. And then they will plan it, and then they are going to test it, ita-test yung mga procedures to ensure that they work, and they will review it periodically. Ayan, para ma-make sure nila na updated pa din yung mga um, possible solutions na pwede nilang ibigay when it comes to this particular risk na pwedeng mangyari. Okay. This is very important. Ma'am, bakit po? Kasi we can never know, 'di ba? Hindi naman siya ina-attract mo yung mga, 'di ba? Kasi pinagpaplanuhan mo. It's not like that. Pero kailangan mo siya pagplanan kasi it normally happens. Okay, it normally happens. So, these are the advantages kung merong BCM ang inyong company. Ayan, number one, you can return to productive operation quickly after disruption or failure of your business processes. Okay, whether it's IT assisted or not. Ayan, so therefore, mare-reduce mo yung downtimes. So, for example na lang, halimbawa na lang, call center kayo, tapos biglang nawalan ng internet, 'di ba? So, it usually happens, 'di ba? So, yun. So, what are you going to do? Hindi mo siya pwedeng doon mo pa lang pagplanuhan, 'di ba? So, meron na siyang nakaplano kung ano yung dapat gawin whenever this thing happens. Okay, so that is the business continuity management. And this is the advantage of it. Okay, number two is this is an effective way to lower follow up costs and create a risk management system that provides legal certainty. So, when you manage your business continuity well, malilesen ang di lang follow-up costs, even other risks or other costs na included or nakapaloob doon sa potential risk na pwedeng mangyari. So, halimbawa, nasira yung isang makina, ayan, tapos syempre ang risk niyan, hindi nyo mabebenta or hindi nyo ma-deliver on time, 'di ba? Yung products na uh, parang pinromise nyo sa sinusuplayan nyo na ibibigay nyo. So, yun. So, what are you going to do? So, dapat meron siya talaga na or ma-manage ang business continuity. So, yun. Now, and third one is you have to you can gain a considerable competitive advantage. Imagine kung hindi ka na-delay sa mga deliveries mo, hindi hindi palagi nagme-maintenance yung halimbawa kung IT kayo, hindi palagi nagme-maintenance yung application nyo, hindi palaging nag-hang, ganyan. So yun, so you will really gain a competitive advantage through a high level of availability. 'Di ba? Yung iba, halimbawa kung application yan, ganyan, eh ayoko gamitin tong, halimbawa, ayoko mag-apply sa ganitong banks kasi palaging sira yung ano nila, online bank nila. So yun, so possible yun. Pwede din yun na maging kasiraan sa reputation ng isang bangko. O kaya naman, um, ah, ayokong pa-outsource ng customer service ko for this particular call center company kasi palagi sila nawawalan ng internet o kaya naman nahahack yung mga systems nila. Ayan, syempre kakabahan yung mga companies sa mga information na ibibigay nila sa inyo. So that is another, 'di ba, thing na pwedeng mangyari when you don't manage your business continuity. So dapat you have to be prepared for this. Okay, so I have a question right now. So, what do you think are the other advantages? Okay, these are just three advantages. So, what do you think are the other advantages ng kakaroon ng business continuity management? Okay, you can write it down on the comment section. Let's proceed now of the framework ng business continuity management. So, what is BCM Framework? It outlines the planning process for developing prior arrangements and procedures to enable organizations to respond to an event in such a manner that their critical business functions can continue within planned levels of disruption. Okay, so ang framework na ito, so from the word itself, framework, you have to dito mo makikita, okay, ito yung outline ng mga pinlano ng leaders or ng management on how they are going to respond sa mga potential risk na pwedeng mangyari. So yun. So diyan mo makikita sa BCM framework. Now, ang BCM framework, ang makikita mo dito ay policies and strategies, business impact assessment, risk assessment, validation and testing, and incident identification. Okay, let's start first with the policies and strategies. Okay. Now, policies and strategies. So, syempre, yung continuity management, it is about more than the reaction to a natural disaster or cyber attack. Binigay ko lang yun na example, pero more than that, okay, it begins with the policies and procedures developed, tested, and used when an incident occurs. Okay, so the policy defines the program scope, key parties, and management structure. It needs to articulate why business continuity is necessary and governance is critical in this phase. Okay, so dito sa part na ito, you have to carefully plan the policies, okay, yung scope, ano ba yung pwedeng maapektuhan when this happens, uh, bukod sa mga employees, bukod sa mga client, ano pa. So, yun, minsan may mga ganun na nangyayari. So, kailangan mong na bukod sa mga tao sa loob ng company mo, meron pa talagang mga naapektuhan ng mga risk na nangyayari na uncontrollable naman talaga. So, yun. So, you have to plan for that. So, pinaplot siya, ginagawa siya ng outline. And then, diyan din nakalagay kung bakit kailangan ng business continuity. Ayan. So, and yun, yung governance or yung pati-lead ng mga ng BCM is one of the critical things dito sa part na to. Okay. So, yung governance kasi it provides clarity in what can be a chaotic time for all involved. So yun, so makikita mo kung what happens sa company kapag what will happen in the company kapag ganito na yung nangyari, kapag nangyari na itong potential risk na pinaghahandaan natin. So that is the policies and strategies. So it consists of the following. So knowing who is responsible for the creation and modification of a business continuity plan. Okay. The other is identifying the team responsible for implementation. So may magki-create, may magmo-modify, so dadaan pa yan sa iba't ibang proseso, tapos sino yung mag implement. So you have to carefully plan it. Kailangan nakalagay yan dyan. Okay? Next is scope. Ayan. So whether it is revenue generating components of the company, external facing aspects, or some subset of the total organization. So syempre sobrang crucial ng scope. Okay? It defines what business continuity means for the organization. So you really have to state it in the policies and strategies. And also, the roles and responsibilities. These may be roles that are obvious based on job function or specific, given the type of disruption that may be experienced. In all cases, ayan, yung policy, governance, scope, and roles need to be broadly communicated and supported. Okay? You have to outline this. Okay? Kaya we have, sa ating framework, we have the policies and strategies. Lahat ito ay nakalagay dapat doon. Okay? Next is the business impact assessment. So, ano naman yung business impact assessment? So, it is a cataloging process to identify the data your company holds, where it is stored, how it is collected, and how it is accessed. Okay? It determines which of those data are most critical. Okay? For example, lalo na kung BPO ka talaga kay BPO companies. So, yung mga halimbawa halimbawa na lang kung bank sa ibang bansa tapos sa inyo kumuha ng customer service, 'di ba? Kasi syempre yung information 'yan. O kaya naman yun nga mobile telecommunication kayo. So yung number, yung details ng mga tao from other countries na ibinigay sa company nyo, na hawak nyo ngayon. So, kailangan malaman nyo which data is critical. Okay, and what the amount of downtime, yung accessible or acceptable. Okay, para parang ilang oras lang ba dapat hindi, halimbawa kung nagkaroon ng glitch sa online bank nyo or sa application nyo, ilang oras lang ba dapat yon? Kapag ba sumobra na sa 1 hour, um, ano na ba yon? Critical na ba yon? Or okay lang kahit umabot mag-exceed hanggang 2 hours. So, hindi naman kayo mag-lose ng client kahit ganun katagal yung downtime nyo. So, yun. So, you have to um, assess the impact nung um, risk or nung unexpected na disaster or unexpected na problem doon sa mismong business nyo. Okay, this is under the business impact assessment. And ayan, under the business impact assessment, you have to calculate your recovery time objective. Okay, which is the maximum time it would take to restore applications to a functional state in the case of sudden loss of service. Ito nga yung sinasabi ko kanina. So, gaano ba katagal ang recovery time? Isang oras lang ba dapat? 2 oras lang ba dapat? What are you going to do kapag ka naging ganon? For example, there are times na halimbawa si BPI, masasabi na sila ahead of time. For example, by January 22 at 10 to 12 midnight, ganyan, di magiging accessible ang um, application or online banking. So, yun. So, pwedeng ganon. Pero, paano kapag within that time, hindi pa din siya naayos? So, yun. So, you have to calculate your recovery time. Pwede yan, gawin mo na, halimbawa, 2 hours lang talaga yung normal na paggawa nun or recovery time nyo. Pwede mong gawin 4 hours, ganyan. Tapos, di ba, after 2 hours, okay na. So, syempre, ang ina-expect ng mga client mo, di ba, 2 hours, 4 hours lang, 4 hours pa. So, yun. So, and then, after 2 hours, kaya, ma-access nila, di ba? So, mas okay. So, yun. Mas hindi kayo masisiraan ng reputation. So, yun. So, you really have to calculate the recovery time. So, while companies aim for 100% uptime, di ba? Lahat naman tayo gusto natin 100% available yung service natin. Pero hindi kasi possible yun. Even may given na may redundant systems and storage capabilities, madalas hindi talaga siya nangyayari. Kahit mga 97% ganyan, pero hindi talaga siya 100% naka-uptime kayo. So, yun. So, you have to be mindful of calculating your recovery time. Next is Recovery point objective. What is this? This is the age of data that would be acceptable for customers and their company to resume operations. It can be also thought of as a data loss acceptability factor. Okay? So, halimbawa, nag-upgrade kayo ng inyong application, tapos merong mga features na mawawala, ganyan, or mga data. Ayan, kailangan, makita nyo kung ano yung impact ng pwedeng mangyari na yon, okay, sa mga customers and to your company. Ayan, when you resume your operations. Okay, so that is under the business impact assessment. So again, this is the framework of BCM, and it consists of policies and strategies. We're done with this, and business impact assessment. Now let's proceed with the risk assessment. So risk assessment, it identifies the broad array of risks that could impact or threaten the enterprise. So these threats can include bad actors, internal players, um, competitors, market conditions, political matters, both domestic and international, and natural occurrences. Like yung mga hindi talaga, yung sinasabi natin na acts of God na hindi talaga natin mapipigilan. So you have to identify or ma-assess yung mga risk na ito. So what are under sa risk assessment or the potential threats? Okay? The impact of personnel loss. Paano kapag may biglang nag-resign? Especially kapag sa manager or supervisor. So, how would that impact? Hindi mo yun mapipigilan eh. 'Di ba? Pwedeng mapigilan mo sila kapag resign, pero minsan they are already decided, hindi mo sila pwedeng kontrolin. Okay? So, yun. So, what else? Changes in consumer or customer preferences. This is another threat also. Paano kapag ngayon, uh, in demand naman yung service na ino-offer mo. Kaso lang, in due time, nag-iba na yung taste nila. Ayan, how would you respond into that? Next is internal agility and ability to respond to security incidents with a plan. Ayan. So, flexible ba kapag ka ba merong merong nangyari? Ayan, flexible ba? Mabilis ba mag-respond yung mga employees nyo or yung mga nandyan sa BCM? So, yun. So, that is another threat. Okay? And financial volatility. Ayan. So, are you um, there are times na pwedeng mangyari na maging threat ang financial aspect in an organization. Paano kung merong manloko sa inyo, tapos mang scam, o kaya naman, so whatever it is na pwedeng mangyari in relation to finances. So that is another threat. Okay, this is a potential threat. Now, ayan, in risk assessment, the organization needs to determine the probability of each risk happening and the potential impact of each one. So each risk needs to be articulated and detailed. So dapat ano yan, nakalagay kung ano yung mga possible na nangyayari, ito yung mga events na pwede mag-trigger dyan. So yun, so that is an example of an articulated and detailed. And then, so yung mga likelihood and potential are key measures when it comes to risk assessment. So yun. So, again, dito ilalagay kung ano yung mga pangyayari na pwedeng makapag-trigger to for that thing to happen. Or parang nangyari na before, tapos pwedeng kahawig na nangyari yun. For example, dati, halimbawa, nagkaroon ng loss, parang hindi tumugma yung nasa accounting, halimbawa. So nangyari na siya before. So, that's another risk, di ba? So, ngayon, ano naman, parang medyo nakikita nyo na parang hindi na okay yung auditing naman. So, yun, medyo, medyo related sila. So, medyo, they have their likelihood. Okay, so, you have to identify the risk or assess the risk na included doon sa dalawa na yun. Okay, next is, determine what its risk tolerance is for potentiality. So, what are the most urgent, critical, or yung mga critical issues na kailangan i-address? Okay? At this phase, yung potential na sinasabi dito is, gaano ba siya makakasira, yung potential niya na makasira sa business mo or sa operations niyo. Okay? So, kailangan alamin mo kung ano muna yung dapat mong unahin, ano yung urgent, ano yung dapat na i-address muna. Kailangan din maglagay ng potential solutions. Kailangan i-identify, i-evaluate at presyohan. Ayan, kasi for sure, it will cost you. With this new information, which includes probability and cost, yung organization ay mapaprioritize niya kung ano yung mga risk na dapat unahin. Okay, so that is the risk assessment. Next is, evaluate as to which risks will be addressed first. Ito din yung sinabi ko kanina. Kailangan siya i-discuss regularly. Ayan. Kasi, pwede ngayon, ito yung ano nyo, ito yung most urgent na threat na dapat yung solusyonan. Pero sa mga susunod, dahil may nag-emerge na technologies, may bago kayong client, may bago kayong machine, o kaya bagong uh, technology or bagong gadget na pinasok sa company nyo, mas pwedeng mabago. Okay, mabago yung mga most urgent na risk na dapat nyo or issues na dapat nyo i-address. So you have to discuss this regularly. So that is all for risk assessment. So now, we will proceed to the validation and testing. Okay, from the word itself, validation, and we're going to test it. The risks and their impacts need to be continuously monitored, measured, and tested. So kaya kailangan, it is very important to have a BCM in the company itself or themselves kung gusto talaga nila na ma-manage yung mga potential threats na pwedeng mangyari sa company. So once mitigation plans are in place, those also should be assessed to ensure that they are working correctly and cohesively. So, yung mga, halimbawa, di ba sa risk assessment, ano na kayo, nagbigay na kayo ng mga possible solutions dun sa mga threats na yon. So, what you will do right now, kailangan mo siyang i-test. Halimbawa, nangyari nga itong particular, may cyber attack, ganyan. Tapos nag-provide na kayo ng possible solutions. Ayan. So, kailangan nyo i-check, effective ba yung solution na binigay namin? Okay. You have to continuously monitor it. I-measure nyo, i-test nyo if it is still working properly. Or kung hindi na, dapat palitan na siya, i-modify, so ganun na siya. So yun. So that is for validation and testing. And the last one is incident identification. So with business continuity, defining what constitutes an incident is essential. Okay, what happens para mangyari itong threat or risk na ito. Okay? So events should be clearly described in policy documents, as should who or what can trigger that an incident has occurred. Yung mga triggering actions na ito should prompt the deployment of the business continuity plan as it is defined and bring the team into action. Okay? So, dahil na-identify nyo na what are the triggering incidents or events na nangyayari para mangyari parang pre-events na nangyayari para mangyari mag-arise itong problema na to. Ngayon, alam niyo na kung paano siya susolusyonan. Kaya nagkakaroon na kayo ng business continuity plan. So, yun. And also, makikita niyo na kung sino yung mga responsible na team na ito to take into action kapag ganito yung nangyari. So, yun. So, that is for the BCM. Again, BCM framework consists of policies and strategies, business impact assessment, risk assessment, validation and testing, and incident identification. For our final discussion, ayan, let's discuss the business continuity and disaster recovery. Madalas silang napag-overlap kasi magkahawig naman talaga sila. Ayan. So, let's just differentiate each of them. So, business continuity kasi, it is the overarching plans that guide operations and establish policy. Okay, this is a broader planning. Okay, that is the business continuity. Now, sa disaster recovery naman is what happens? Ano nang mangyayari? Ano nang dapat nating gawin when an incident occurs? It's about specific incident responses. So disaster recovery, pwedeng under siya ng business continuity kasi broader ang business continuity. Ang gagawin ng disaster recovery, magde-deploy na siya ng teams. Okay? Na pwedeng umaksyon for a particular problem. So, yun. And then, yung net results of the work done to identify risks and remediate them. So yun. So that is what disaster recovery is. Again, si business continuity, you will just plan. Merong mga guide operations, mag-establish ka ng mga rules, ng policies mo, whereas sa disaster recovery, nangyari na. Okay, what are we going to do? So we have to deploy. Who are responsible for this? What are they going to do? Okay, this is the specific incident responses. Okay, so we're done. Ayan, so we discussed the BCM, yung framework ng BCM, and the difference ng business continuity management sa disaster recovery. So again, hindi naman sila magkaiba, hindi sila dapat paghiwalayin. Ayan, kasi disaster recovery will root sa business continuity plan na meron tayo sa isang company. Okay, so we're done. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to have you also sa mga next videos pa. Bye! Thank you!